What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. For the past week I've been working on this Flurry Rogue Build. I wanted to go a bit off meta and use Flurry, which is actually a very fun skill. And when it's paired up with Poison Imbuement, does tons of damage with excellent area of effect. Not to mention, with the setup that we have a 25k effective health pool and insane life regeneration, which makes this build almost unkillable in most situations. We do use a few choice unique items for this build to really make it shine, but it's also 100% viable without them. I have done all of the content currently in the game with this build. It's a really well-rounded build overall. In this guide, we will cover everything from A to Z, and timestamps are down below, so feel free to jump ahead at any time. At the end of the video will be a bit of gameplay, and the full Uber Lilith kill if you want to go ahead and check that out. Guys, right now I'm on my way to 7,000 subscribers, so if you end up enjoying the video and it's helpful, don't forget to like and sub, and leave me a comment down below. It really helps the channel and I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, let's get right into it. For the skills, we use Flurry. You can see right here, this is our main damage dealer. We also use combo points with this. We'll go over that in the specializations. We use Puncture. Basically, this is going to regenerate energy for us. It makes enemies vulnerable, and also it builds up our combo points. We use Dash. This is just to get around quickly. Really good mobility skill. We use Poison Imbuement. This adds a ton of damage to our skill. Really great to have. We use Poison Trap, helps us do even more damage, knocks enemies down. You know, just another utility that we have in the build. Then we also use Shadow Step. This is going to get us out of tough situations. Also a good mobility skill, and does a decent amount of damage when paired up with everything. As for the specialization, we're going to go with combo points. You see right there, your basic skills now generate combo points. Or skills consume combo points for additional effects. So basically we use our Puncture, we build up 3 points, and as you can see right there, for the combo point bonus, you know, at 1 point it does more damage, 2 it does more, and 3 it does more. So it's just stacking our damage up, and we have really fast attack speed with this build overall, so we can build those combo points up super quick. For the Vampiric Powers, up first we're going to use Undying. You can see right here, casting skills heals you for 3% of your life, double this bonus while below 50%. Now with Flurry, we already pretty much are healing constantly because of the skill itself and a choice that we have. And then with this, I mean, our regen is just insane. So this is definitely, we got to have this one. Next, we're going to go right here. We're going to get Ravenous. You can see right there, Lucky Hit, up to a 20% chance to increase your attack speed by 40% of your total movement speed. We get 50, you know, our current bonus is 55% attack speed. And that's always up. That's huge. We're going to come down here. We're going to get Flowing Veins. Now, overall, we're a damage over time build, and you can see right here you deal 60%, and that's multiplicative increased damage over time to enemies that are moving or affected by a vampiric curse. And all enemies are affected by vampiric curses, as you'll see right here in a second. So that's a huge damage multiplier for us. Right here we're going to use Prey on the Weak. You can see right there you deal 16% multiplicative increased damage to vulnerable enemies. Enemies are vulnerable while affected by a vampiric curse from your other vampiric powers. Damage bonus to all enemies, because all of our enemies are always vulnerable. And then you can see right here we take a Curse Touch. Unlucky Hit, up to a 44% chance to inflict vampiric curse on enemies. And with this build, guys, we have a really big lucky hit chance, and you're going to see that in just a second. So this is always up. Afflicted enemies have a 15% chance to spread it to other enemies. Vampiric curses stored souls deal 200% increased damage, which we're constantly, you know, building up those souls, and they actually do a lot of damage themselves. They help with our clear quite a bit. Alright, into our gear and aspects, guys. Now, real quick, we don't go for critical strike chance on this build like most other builds usually do. We're not focusing on crit. We want to focus on our gear on lucky hit chance. And also, you can see right here, my armor is at 8,400. You want to get that to around 10,000 armor, between like 9,500 and 10,000. That way, when you have your aspect of disobedience up, you have like, you know, maximum armor in high nightmare dungeons like tier 100s. So for me, what I did is I just, as you can see right here, I use an elixir like this when I'm doing, you know, tier 100 nightmare dungeons. It gives me 900 armor, and that caps me off. So, but with the right gear and the right setup, you can have 10 or 11k armor overall. So definitely want to get that up, at least to like 9,500, I would say. All right, starting off in the helmet. Up here, you can see that we have the aspect of might. Basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds. We're always using our basic skill. We're always building our combo points with Puncture, so we have a 20% damage reduction up at all times with this. On your helmet, you want to try to get percent total armor, you know, whatever resistances you need, And then you want to get 4 ranks to poison imbuement on your helmet. That's a must-have right there. So that, you know, boosts our damage quite a bit. Into the armor right here, we have the aspect of disobedience. Obviously, this gain 1.1% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 66%. This gives us a huge boost to our armor as well. You want to have aspect of disobedience right there on your armor. And then also try to get percent total armor, whatever resistances you need, life, damage reduction. Right here into the gloves, you want to get 4 ranks to Flurry. We definitely want to get as many ranks, obviously, as possible to Flurry in our gloves. Attack speed, and then high lucky hit chance. And then, you see right there, I have trap skill cooldown. You know, there's other things you can get. You can get dexterity for more damage. You know, with this build, dexterity turns into damage. So you can go with different things on your gloves, but you at least want to get the ranks to Flurry, attack speed, and lucky hit chance. Now, here's our first unique that we're going to use with the build. We're using Temerity. You can see right down there, it doesn't have really any good stats on it, but effects that heal you beyond 100% life grant you a barrier up to 80% of your maximum life, and that lasts for 8 seconds. And even potions can be used to start that barrier up. This barrier is constantly up, and right now we're at 14k life, and our barrier is a little bit over 11,000. So we have a 25k effective health pool, and we have major regen with this build, so it's constantly just filling up. Next, we go right here into the boots. We're using the Penitent Greaves. Overall, the main reason we're using the Penitent Greaves is, you can see right there, you leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies, and you deal 10% multiplicative more damage to chilled enemies. So, you know, it's chilling everything around us, giving us a nice boost to our damage. And then also, Penitent Greaves have some nice stats on it. They have good movement speed, they have crowd control duration, a lot of cold resistance. So overall, really good boots. And then also in our skill tree, we take Frigid Finesse, and you deal 15% multiplicative increased damage to chilled enemies. That's another 50. So really, with these boots, we're getting 25% multiplicative damage overall. Now we'll come down here into the crossbow. You want to use a crossbow so you get the 48% vulnerable damage. You don't want to use a regular bow because it just gives damage to distant enemies, and we're actually close to enemies at all times. Okay, the main stats that you want to get, you know, pretty much on your rings and all weapons, is you want to try to get dexterity. You want to get all stats, damage to close. You definitely want to get damage to crowd controlled enemies. We will go over in the skill tree why we're going with so much of that, but we want to get that anywhere that we can. That actually gives us multiplicative damage overall, and you'll see why in a minute. You definitely want to get that though. You can get like damage over time. You definitely want to try to get the dexterity, all stats, and, you know, damage to crowd control. Those are the 3 most important on all your weapons, even on your rings. So. And then right here, you can see we put the accelerating aspect. You want to put that on your two-hander, so you get the 100% effect on it. Critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by up to 50% for 5 seconds. That's even more attack speed. So when we're, you know, throwing off our punctures, we're building up our combo points fast. We're just attacking fast overall, which means we're putting out more damage fast overall. Now up here into the necklace, you can see right here we have the aspect of corruption on there. Your imbuement skill effects have 60% multiplicative increased potency against vulnerable enemies. With this build, all enemies are vulnerable at all times, and that's a huge bonus to our poison damage. So we definitely want to have that up here on the amulet. And then on your amulet, guys, you want to look for either, you know, raw damage. Definitely want to get 3 ranks to all your imbuments. You want to try to get 3 ranks to deadly venom if you can. That's huge for this build as well. It gives us a lot of damage for our poison, which is our main damage dealer. So try to get those, and then, you know, you could try to get movement speed, which is good, you know, because of our vampiric powers. It goes into attack speed also. I have, you know, percent dexterity, which you can see actually gives me quite a bit, and that turns into damage. So those are the choices that you want to make on the amulet. Down here into the rings, you can see on this first ring right here, I have the conceited aspect. Deal 25%, and that's multiplicative increased damage while you have a barrier active. Now remember, we're in Temerity, and this is giving us a barrier for 80% of our life, which is up at all times. So we always get that 25% multiplicative damage. So this just goes really well with Temerity. For stats on the ring, I actually have pretty good stats on this ring. You know, damage over time, damage to close, damage to crowd controlled, and lucky hit chance. You want to get a high lucky hit chance. You want to stay away from core skill damage and cutthroat skill damage, as they do not go into poison damage. They won't boost your poison damage. So try to stay away from those. Try to go with, you know, like I said, damage to close and crowd control for sure. And then on the rings, and then lucky hit chance is huge. We want to get as high lucky hit chance as possible. And then part of the reason we want to get the lucky hit chance is because For a third unique in the build, we're using X-Falls Corroded Signet. This has a ton of good stats for the build. You see lucky hit chance, cooldown reduction, damage over time, all stats. And then, you know, you can see right there, your damage over time effects have up to a 50% chance on, and that's on lucky hit. We have huge lucky hit with this build to erupt, dealing almost 40,000 damage of the same type to nearby enemies. And we're using poison all the time, so we're doing huge explosions of damage because of this ring as well. I mean, I've seen ticks with this build of like 6 million damage in one tick with poison, you know, so that's actually pretty good. Down into the weapons now, we definitely want to use the daggers in the weapon slots, and you want to get as high item power, aka as high damage per hit daggers that you can find. You can see I have 925s, that's the highest that you can get. I got both of these off of Duriel. For the first aspect that you want to get the Encircling Blades aspect. Flurry damages enemies in a circle around you and deals 15% multiplicative increased damage. And then, like I said, you know, same with the crossbow over here. You want to try to get all stats, dexterity, damage over time, damage to close, you know, and then on this one right here, I have damage to crowd control. I couldn't find it on my second one yet. You definitely want to try to get damage to crowd control on both of them though, because you'll see in the skill tree, like I said, that'll equal out to a lot more damage overall. For our aspect on the second dagger right here, we have Bursting Venoms. You can see right there, poison imbued skills have up to a 15% chance to create a toxic pool that deals 8k poison damage over 3 seconds to enemies. While standing in the pool, your poison imbuement skill has no cooldown and no charge limit. Now, with this Bursting Venoms and our Puncture, they just coincide really good. It's constantly making these pools, and when we're standing in these pools, we can just keep on using our poison imbuement over and over, so we're just pumping out loads of damage. Helps on single target against bosses, you know, everything. So you definitely want to have aspect of Bursting Venoms on your other dagger right here. Get whatever good stats you can. Try to get the dexterity, all stats, damage to crowd control, damage to close, you know, whatever good things you can find, and get as high damage daggers as you possibly can. And then when it comes to the jewels for your armor, you want to get rubies for life. And then down here, you want to get the amethyst for damage over time. You know, it gives us more damage overall. As for the skill tree, for our basic skill, we're going to take Puncture. We're going to run that back here, and then we're going to get Fundamental Puncture. When 2 blades hit an enemy, makes them vulnerable. For our core skill, we're going to take Flurry. We're going to have rank 9 on that because of our gloves. We're going to take that back right here to enhance Flurry. You can see each time Flurry damages a crowd control or vulnerable enemy, you heal for 1% of your maximum life, up to 12% of your maximum life. So our heal with this and our Vampiric Power is just insane with this build. I mean, we're never losing life or our barrier with this build usually. Now you can see right here we come into improved Flurry. If Flurry hits any vulnerable enemy, it will make all enemies hit by that cast vulnerable for 3 seconds. You know, this right here is huge, guys. We want to definitely get this. Now, you could come down here into Advanced Flurry. You see right there, evading through enemies will cause your next Flurry to stun enemies for almost 3 seconds, which is nice. But, I mean, even though we always make enemies vulnerable, I just want the uptime of vulnerable, like, at all times. So that's why I chose this right here. Next, we're going to come down here into our Agility skill. We're going to go Shadow Step. This is to break crowd control. You know, it makes us unstoppable, does a lot of damage itself. Nice mobility skill. And then we're going to come back into Enhanced Shadow Step and then back into Disciplined, that it is going off more often. Lowers the cooldown. So definitely want to take that. You're going to come over here into Concussive, get 1 here and 1 down here into Trick Attacks. Concussive, after knocking back or knocking down an enemy, gain 4% increased critical strike chance. We're not too worried about that. But you can see right here, when you critically strike a dazed enemy, which we're dazing enemies all the time with this build too, they are knocked down for 0.5 seconds. So, you know, we're constantly knocking enemies down, and it helps quite a bit for, you know, keeping us alive, especially in those high tier nightmare dungeons. Right here, we want to get 1 into dash, you know, more mobility, and we get 2 charges with it, so it's really nice. We're going to come down here into our subterfuge skills. We're going to take Poison Trap. You can see right there, obviously Poison Trap deals damage. We do a lot of poison damage. And then we're going to come back here into Enhanced Poison Trap. This knocks enemies down as well, like we were talking about. And then down into Subverting Poison Trap. And this gives us 10% more multiplicative damage to, with poison, to enemies that are, you know, inside the trap. So huge damage boost for us. You're going to want to also get 3 into Exploit right here. You deal 18% increased damage to healthy and injured enemies. You know, when our poison goes off, it ticks like for 6 seconds. And, you know, the enemies are healthy at that time, and we usually kill them with the first poison. So we get that bonus pretty much at all times with poison. Then we want to get Malice right here. You deal 9% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. That's really good. All enemies are vulnerable. Nice boost. Right here into our imbuement skills, we're going to take poison imbuement. We want to max that out and get all the levels that we can to that on our gear. Back here into enhanced poison imbuement, you can see right there, poison imbuement's poisoning duration is increased by 1 second. And then mixed poison imbuement. Now, like I said, we focus on lucky hit with this build, and right there, poison imbued skills have up to a 30% chance to apply double the amount of poisoning damage over time. So we're doing double poison damage quite a bit with this build. Right here, we're going to get deadly venoms. We want to get 3 into that. We get 18% multiplicative increased poisoning damage, and then we had 3 ranks also on our amulet, so that gives us a nice boost to our overall poison damage. And then right here, we're going to take debilitating toxins. Poison enemies deal 15% less damage, and most enemies are always poisoned, so helps out with our survivability. And because of our penitent greaves, we take frigid finesse. You deal 15% multiplicative increased damage to chilled enemies. Down here into our ultimate skill, we're going to come up here, we're going to get innervation. Like I said, we focus on lucky hit, up to a 30% chance to gain 8 energy. And that's why we don't need like any energy aspects on our rings or anything. We're just fine with energy with all this. Right here, non-physical damage you deal has 15% increased lucky hit chance. And then right here, every 100 energy you spend grants 15% increased lucky hit chance for 5 seconds. So it's just boosting our lucky hit chance dramatically. We're going to come down here into Adrenaline Rush. Right here, while moving, you gain 5% increased energy regeneration. We don't really worry about that. We just wanted to get back here into Haste. While at or above 50 maximum energy, gain 15% increased movement speed. And while below 50% maximum energy, gain 15% increased attack speed. Now, down here into our key passive, this is actually huge for the build overall. Okay, you can see right here, we took Close Quarters Combat. Damaging a close enemy with a Marksman or Cutthroat skill, each grants 10% increased attack speed. Now, we're constantly using a Marksman and a Cutthroat skill because we're building up our combo points, and then we're using our Flurry. This is always up. And you can see right there, while both attack speed bonuses are active, you deal increased damage equal to 40% multiplicative of your damage versus crowd control bonus. Now, that's why we wanted all the extra damage to crowd control, and we also take that a lot in the Paragon board that you will see is right there. You see our current damage bonus increase is 133% multiplicative. So you want to get that damage versus crowd control on any piece of gear and in the Paragon tree anywhere you can, pretty much. But this is huge for the build overall. Alright guys, we'll go ahead and jump into the Paragon board now. Really quick, there will be a link down below for this build on Mobalytics if you want to check it out that way. Right here in the starter board, we're going to come up over here. We're going to grab Prime for damage and maximum life. We're going to come up this way in the first socket right here. We're going to take Efficacy. You can see right there we get the additional bonus of 20% increased potency to our imbuement skills. And then also, guys, we're going to go right here, take Skillful and Lawless. We get Armor, Dexterity, Damage, Dexterity. You do want to come down here and grab Resilience for more maximum life and all resistances in this area. Now the next board that we come into is the No Witness board. First, you're going to want to come over here and we want to grab Ruin. 50% damage to healthy enemies, which is huge for this build. Like I said, with Poison, all of our damage starts off when the enemy's healthy usually, and it kills them with that damage. So this, stays at 50% to most enemies. Then we want to come over here up into Knowledge, damage, intelligence, great for the build. In this socket right here, we're going to put Diminish. You can see right there, it's going to boost up our nodes around here, and then also take 10% reduced physical damage from vulnerable enemies. So all enemies are vulnerable, helps our survivability. And you want to come over here, grab Training for maximum life, dexterity, and also knowledge. And make sure you get this damage in this range right here also. The next board that we're going to come over into is the Exploit Weakness board. Now you're going to want to start off, come over here, come down. In this socket, we're going to get Tracker. You can see right there, obviously it gives us damage to poison enemies, but the huge thing with it as well is, the additional bonus, poisoning damage effects last 33% longer. So it's making it to where overall we're doing more damage. Huge for the build. You're going to come over this way, you're going to grab Hunter Killer for damage to elites, movement speed, more damage to elites in this area. Come all the way around, we'll come down here and we'll grab Exploit Weakness. Whenever you deal damage to a vulnerable enemy, that enemy takes 1% increased damage from you for multiplicative for 6 seconds, up to 15% multiplicative. All enemies are vulnerable, so just ramping our damage up. Then we're going to come this way. We're only going to take the bare minimum in this area right here, just to get that bonus for Tracker. Next board that we're going to jump into is the Eldritch Battery board. Now, this is a huge node for Poison Imbuement. Gives us like 20% increased damage. overall. So it's, you know, definitely we want to have this. We're going to start off up here. We're going to come over. We're going to grab Potent for imbued skill damage and dexterity. Right here on this board, we're going to put Turf. You can see right there for the additional bonus, you gain 10% damage reduction against close enemies. And, you know, that's just awesome. We're always close to enemies. We're going to come down here, grab Ready Supply, non-physical damage bonus, and then imbuement skill cooldown. Obviously, come down here. We're going to grab Eldritch Boundary. Now remember guys, also real quick, you want to get all of your glyphs at least to level 15 so you get the bigger radius on it. The next board that we're going to come into is going to be the Cheap Shot board. We're going to come over here, we're going to grab Oppress. Now on this Cheap Shot board, there's a ton of damage to crowd control. This is like actually one of the most important boards. I mean, we want to get all of the damage to crowd control that we can. We're going to come down here, grab Cheap Shot, you know, up to a 25% multiplicative damage bonus. When there's free, you know, 5% for each nearby enemy that's crowd controlled. So this is huge, especially like impacts of enemies that you're fighting. You come down here, you want to grab Safeguard, you know, damage reduction from elites, and especially in those high nightmare dungeons, they hit hard. And then it also gives us armor. In this glyph socket down here, we're going to take Control. This is the most important glyph, in my opinion, for the build. And then, you know, once you hit 15 with all of your glyphs, start leveling this one first to 21, or get as high as you can. I think mine is like 18 right now, but definitely really important. And then in this area on this board, there's a lot of intelligence. We have 44 intelligence, so we get as much damage as we can out of it. You know, so we're going to come down here. We're going to grab Devious for damage to crowd controlled. We're also going to come over here, grab more crowd control damage and this damage in this area. We're going to come down here and grab some damage to healthy. Grab Spearhead for 50% damage to healthy enemies and armor. And then the final board that we're going to come into is going to be the Tricks of the Trade board. You can see we're going to come straight up over here. We're going to grab Lawless for armor and dexterity. And then we're going to squeeze in Bane. This is a really big one for the build. Obviously, it gives us poison damage. And then also you can see for the additional bonus, poisoning damage effects have a 10% chance to deal double the amount of damage over their duration. So, you know, there's even more of a chance to deal double damage. Just huge for the build. You know, overall, this build's really fun, guys. Really strong. If you enjoyed this guide, don't forget to like and sub. Leave me a comment down below. There will be gameplay right now at the end if you want to go ahead and check that out. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.
I'm not ready yet.